Hey everyone, Gill Gross here post-match. Novak Djokovic versus Frances Tiafoe, Laver Cup 2022, Day 2. If you're not here for spoilers, click off the video in 3, 2, 1. His first match in 76 days. Novak Djokovic looks like he hasn't missed a beat and beats Tiafoe 6-1, 6-3 in a match that I expected to be more competitive and compelling. But Djokovic with a very dominant performance, as the scoreline certainly suggests. So, look, I thought his serving set the tone. His first 8 serves of the match, 6 of them didn't come back. His first 2 service games were holds at love. So when you're coming back off of a long hiatus and you know, there's kind of those natural feelings of uncertainty and unfamiliarity in that kind of match setting, that's certainly a way to wipe all of that away and to get right into the match, and also just make Tiafoe feel like he's not into the match. I mean, when you barely touch the ball on your first 2 return games, it's not a great way to start the match. So, look, the great serving continued for Djokovic throughout, and Tiafoe's not the best defensive returner. He's a really good offensive returner. When he gets his racket on it, he can hit some awesome returns. Like, I shouldn't say when he gets his racket on it. When he makes, clean contact and times it well, and he's not, stretched out to the point where he's trying to make a defensive return. He's really good both on the forehand, which is improved, and the backhand. But if you hit your spots, as Djokovic does so well, and you mix it up well, because Tiafoe likes to anticipate, he likes to guess. If you're unpredictable and you hit great spots, I've seen plenty of matches where Tiafoe's not really getting a lot of serves back. I don't have the stats. I felt like this was one of those matches. So credit to Novak, great serving performance. I also want to talk about, as soon as I started watching these rallies play out, the first thing I thought was, wow, these conditions, they are going to make Djokovic an absolute nightmare to play. And it's not about court speed. And because the match wasn't that compelling, I do want to spend some time talking about this. It's kind of a larger topic. When we talk about conditions in tennis, my estimation is that 90% of the discussion is about court speed. Is it fast? Is it slow? It shouldn't be like that. It shouldn't be like that at all. It should be maybe 60% of the discussion should be about court speed. The other 40% should be about height of bounce. Is it bouncing high? Is it bouncing low? Is it bouncing medium? There can obviously be other discussions. So I know I made 100%, but sliding versus not sliding, hard court, clay, grass, different movement, sure. But in terms of how the ball bounces, altitude, in terms of humidity, in terms of how the ball bounces, it shouldn't be so much about speed. We should discuss height of bounce. It is a major factor. It is super important. And especially for Novak, I think when the ball is not bouncing high, it gives him a huge boost in his ground game because he gets weaker above the shoulders. He gets more inconsistent on the forehand. He loses a lot of pace on the backhand. He loses control, the consistency. But when the ball is in his strike zone on a consistent basis, he's just like a machine. The precision is incredible, especially on the two-hander. The two-hander is a shot where, if you break the contact point, get it above his shoulders, get it below his knees, that's where you can start to break it down. But if he's going to hit the ball between hip and shoulder every time, my goodness, I mean, good luck. It never misses, and it's deep, it's precise, it's so good down the line. And, there were a couple areas in this match where I thought the height of bounce was playing a big role. One of them was Djokovic just crushing Tiafoe's kick serve. And we've talked about this, Djokovic in matchups against certain players like Thiem and Berrettini, they actually can have some success kicking it to Djokovic's backhand, getting a weak return and crushing a forehand. But Tiafoe's kick serve, it wasn't bouncing. Novak was hitting it below below shoulder level every time, very comfortably, and Novak was crushing it and even coming in behind a lot of second serve returns, which just shows you how comfortable the contact point was for Novak. The other thing was Djokovic defending, right? Defending with slice on his backhand and getting it low on Tiafoe's forehand. So here's another shot that is affected by height of bounce. Tiafoe has a Western grip on the forehand, and when it's above, when it's shoulder height or above, Tiafoe does a really good job of leaning into it, hitting it flat, getting that downward trajectory, and crushing it. But when he has to hit up on the ball, Tiafoe's forehand, a little bit shaky, not as comfortable from a super low contact point. So Djokovic defending with his slice backhand really, really well, and Tiafoe a couple times just losing control of the rally or making an unforced error because he's not attacking Djokovic's slice well. Why doesn't speed matter? Because for Novak, because he never gets rushed. He never, he's always in time. So you have to break him down by breaking his contact point with height. You can't do it with speed. And that's why a quick court, a slow court, it's not going to matter. But, backhand to backhand in these slow conditions, Djokovic is a much better pace generator than Tiafoe. And it wasn't like the US Open where Tiafoe was getting so much purchase off of redirecting his backhand and rushing players with his backhand even cross court, hitting it deep, penetrating, getting that quick skid and forcing players to kind of check the ball, not being able to actually swing through it and hit a comfortable ground stroke because it's skidding through the court. On this court, it's so slow that Novak was handling Tiafoe's cross-court backhand really easily, dominating that rally. And forehand to forehand, he's also a better, he was better. He was just better. But a lot of that is just the conditions just suiting Djokovic perfectly. And Novak's return and movement was really, really good, made it difficult for Tiafoe to find those quick finishes. And that's where the speed of the court, it doesn't so much affect Djokovic, but it definitely affects Tiafoe. Tiafoe has some issues on slower courts because he is not the kind of player who works the point very well, builds points very well from the baseline. He's a great finisher, but he's not a great point builder. Players who are, grow up on clay and become very proficient slower court players, what they do well is they'll string together ground strokes in a way that applies kind of cumulative pressure, and then they find the finish, like Nadal, right? Think Nadal forehands. Build inside out, finish inside in, right? Or like how many times have we seen that like 3 forehand combination where it's build, finish? Tiafoe's not that kind of guy. Tiafoe's the kind of player, it's short ball, first short ball of the rally, approach down the line, finish volley. And with Djokovic covering the court as well as he does, and this court playing as slow as it does, that opening just wasn't there. Like, you have to build a little bit. And so Djokovic is able to build. He has those skills. Tiafoe, not as much. So that's kind of how I saw this match. Beautiful words by Novak afterwards about Federer. Djokovic talking about how it was one of the most emotional things that he's ever seen, and how Novak, I think, just being the family-oriented person who he is and having, kids himself, I think the moment, what he said is the moment that hit him the hardest is when Federer's wife and kids came onto court and they were tearing up, And Novak was saying that that hit him really, really hard, and just expressing his feelings and his gratitude that he was able to witness it on the level that he was able to witness it on. So Novak is one of the few players who I think could take my job. Novak's one of the few guys who could actually have a solo host podcast and talk for 30 minutes. He's that, because he can just go and go and go, and his thoughts are expansive and in-depth. So we saw a little bit of that after the match. Anyway, great return from Djokovic. It's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be an interesting stretch for him, because Novak probably wants to actually build some momentum and some confidence, whereas a lot of players, they might not care so much. Their season is already behind them. Some of the top players. For Novak, there's no way he feels that way, because he's played so little tennis. He's definitely craving the feeling of kind of getting into a rhythm here and winning some titles. Hope you enjoyed. Don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.